Yay, we made it to another Tuesday. It's Larry Bailey, Awesome Technologies, Inc. Brian, Luba, Katie, you guys win. You are the very first folks here. So thank you very much for coming. As those that are rolling in, thanks for coming to the live event. You're finding it in Mortgage.community. We meet every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, unless I am completely indisposed. But fortunately, we can get together today. Try to do it as a topic. It is a community meeting, so if you have questions, feel free to use the chat. If you want to come up on stage and use your microphone, you don't have to be on video, but if you want to be on video too, that's cool. For those listening in replay, if you're listening on podcast, that's awesome. You can get over to Mortgage.community to see the whole thing, the whole shebang. Hey, Kayla, Kirsten. Hope you guys are doing well. So today's topic is Encompass Web for Sales Team. We'll wait till everybody kind of gets in and gets settled. I'm sure it'll be a couple of minutes. And we'll kind of talk about it. We're going to talk about, is there such a thing? Can you use it? Can you use desktop and web? Is it really ready? Well, we use, one POS over another, whether it's Simple Nexus or Big POS or Blend or whatever. Maybe you just even use Consumer Connect. You're like, how does that tie into my sales team? So we're going to talk all about it, because for those that don't know my complete background, it's extraordinarily boring. So Brian asks, when you say when sales, you mean like LOs making loans in web? Yes, but this is more about the sales team using Encompass Web as it is today in ways that I find are empowering and are useful. I did this even up to 2 years ago, 2 years ago. I was helping a company really work on the sales side, and I was using Encompass Web. Just keeping track of pipeline and doing things like that. So Brian, I'm going to get into those topics. So as far as making sales, I don't know what that means, but we can talk about it. Tell me more if you have any questions. And that's a really important part of this whole experience, right? So we cover these meetings every Tuesday. You sacrifice a half an hour of your time, which I truly appreciate. And I try to share and pay you back with stuff I know and stuff I've learned. So just real quick, boring history, started in lending in 93. As a processor, realized I could make a hell of a lot more money in sales. So went into sales and never really looked back. And part of the way that I was successful was being accessible and having information that I can give to my borrowers or prospects as they needed it, sometimes even before they even asked, before they realized they needed it. And so I wasn't the smartest guy in the world. I certainly wasn't the best salesman, but I was really good at getting information quickly and delivering a perspective that was appropriate for the borrower at the time, and providing information so that they can make choices. And if you have never been in this situation, tell me if this sounds familiar to you. If somebody gives you 5 choices and they're like, hey, listen, I'm going to give you 5 choices. Just go ahead and pick one. You've already lost. Because if you pick one of their 5 choices, they win. And that's kind of the whole thing here. So when we get into Encompass Web, I'm going to show you what opportunities look like. I'm going to show you, as an admin, what you have to do to enable this and kind of play around with it. And most importantly, as a salesperson or in sales management, some of the things that you can use today, even if the rest of your company is using desktop, which everybody is, and really we'll speak to that. Sound like a plan? So for those who just rolled in, Larry Bailey, Awesome Technologies. Thanks for coming today. We're going to talk about how to use Encompass Web for the sales team. Sales team. So Brian asked a question earlier. You mean like making loans on the web? So the idea, of course, is, if we all remember back to, feels like 7 years ago, certainly at least 6, like LO Connect, right? That was how Ellie Mae at the time rolled it out, and it went kind of sideways, right? I think it's fair to say it went sideways, and it went sideways for a while. And so now we have Encompass Web, and I've been saying now for over a year, and I've been helping clients for over a year on how to prepare for the web and best practices and how to leverage certain things. Remember, this weekend is 24.1.0.1 as it stands now, is rolling out. And there's going to be a ton of functionality rolling out for the web. If you haven't gotten your eyeballs and your brain cells around workflow engine, you need to study up now. If you haven't gotten your eyeballs and your brain cells around enhanced conditions, you need to study up now. If you have any questions about that stuff, please let me know. But Brian, so Brian asks, or at least starting loans in web. Yeah, you can do that. But the idea is if you're interviewing a borrower right now, like today, you're not going to do that on the web. That's not the point. That's not what you want to do. You can do that in desktop. If the client's starting a loan for you, you can certainly do that on Consumer Connect, or you can do that on any other platform that creates a loan for you in Encompass. But that's really not where we're headed. So let me go ahead and share screen and get into the meat. Share screen. And again, if you're listening to us on podcast, get over to mortgage.community, check out the replay, and get here live so you can see it live. All right. So encompass.ice.com, if you haven't been there, that's the domain, encompass.ice.com. Once you do that, it'll actually refresh and do this whole thing. Go ahead and log in. I might fail. Yeah, I knew that was going to fail. So let's try this. One more character. Oh boy. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is log in successfully. So let's hang on. Let me see if I can get logged in successfully. Oh, that's not the right CID. That's the problem. That's the problem. So you got to make sure you use the correct login ID. And hang on with me one second, gang, because I thought I was ready. I promise I prepared, and I completely failed. So give me just a second, and I'll log in. So what you're doing right now is you're basically logging into your Encompass instance on the web, and you have to have proper credentials for that, obviously. And I'm going to use this client ID because it is one that I've run scenarios with before. Look at that. Look at that. And now, of course, if you haven't used Ping ID ever, you're going to get Ping ID to run, and it's new, and it basically asks you like, hey, do you want to log in? Is this you? You say yes. It authenticates, and you're in. You have too many, LOL. Katie, I'm just helping the world. That's all I'm doing. I'm just trying to help everybody. So yes, I have a lot of client IDs, which is why I use a super secret password vault, and then things don't get updated. So here we are. Now, obviously, this is the admin side. So I'm going to address the chats that are coming in. So Candace says, or you have a third-party authenticator. Do me a favor, Candace, make sure you read up. We met as a group. Make sure your third-party ping is working properly. Your third-party MFA is working properly in 24.1. That's number one. Reed says if your company has SSO enabled, you can enable it from the web and they don't need ping ID. True. So if you're using SSO, which is super simple to set up, it's not hard. There's a little bit of a turn. So if it definitely would encourage you to enable SSO so you don't have to deal with this kind of stuff, because the computer will sense that you're logged in just like it does for other Microsoft products. Here's what I want to show you. So in Encompass on the web for your sales team, you have a couple of things to look at here. Now, who has a CRM? So show of hands, put a thing in the chat, raise your hand to yourself. If your company has a CRM, is your sales team actually using it? Oh, nice little thing there, Louis. So is your sales team using it? Now, Velocify is not a CRM. Definitely not. Velocify is a contact manager. And so when I'm talking about a CRM, what I'm really talking about is a way for your team to remember who they talked to, but they didn't get a loan to yet. And so on the web, what Encompass tried to do was to create this prospects, which are leads, which are effectively basic information that you can load in. It's a new kind of a thing. So I would encourage you to check it out. You can modify these sources. You can modify these statuses. This is all stuff from what we would typically do in the borrower contacts tab. Who thought ICE was ever going to bring back the borrower contact tab from Encompass? But there it was. So, oh yeah, Maggie, if you use ICE's CRM, so ICE does have a CRM that's different from Velocify in any event. So I would encourage you to check that out to the highest and best use for that part. That's the first thing. The second thing is in opportunities. Now, if you go to click this guy and you try to do opportunities and nothing comes up, that's because in the admin side, you've got to go back to opportunity setup, and you've got to at least create one test eligibility letter and one test email template. I would tell you, you might want to play around with affordability management. Like, you don't want to have DTIs that exceed a certain threshold. That's just maybe good practice, but you don't have to have that in order to get the opportunities to work. Louis says prospects do not show up in client correct. No, they don't. Actually, well, somebody uses it. So Maggie, maybe Maggie can speak to it more because I don't use them, so I don't want to say the wrong thing. So Maggie, can you answer Louis' question? Because you use Velocify, which integrates to the prospects tab. Does that show up in borrower contacts? I'm expecting it to possibly show up, but I don't know. So I don't know, Maggie, if you could answer that question or not. In any event, let's go back over to opportunities. This is really where the money is. And so from a salesperson's perspective, when I go to create a new opportunity, I'm talking to the borrower. And so a lot of times you literally, if you talk to, if you ever sat in a salesperson seat, you'll see scratch paper everywhere, traditionally. If you're super fanatic about data entry and the information's already on screen because you bought the lead from somewhere, then there'll be no paper. This information will kind of be on there. So if you bought the lead from Zillow or LendingTree or whoever, you might already have this in your CRM, right, as follow-up. In any event, if you add this information in, you go through the different screens, what you'll end up with is an opportunity that has basic information. And you can come up here and edit this opportunity anytime you want. You can see I filled in this information. All this information, of course, is fake. But the idea is it brings you over into get pricing. So if I want to go and click get pricing, I can actually see current pricing. I already created too many damn scenarios. So let me go over here and delete some scenarios. Let's see here. We're going to delete this one, so at least I can show you how the pricing works. All right, cool. That's good enough. One is good enough. So if I come over here and I want to edit the scenario, or edit the opportunity, excuse me, and then click get pricing. So right now it's going out to fetch it right out to your PPE. Sean says, I can't get to the opportunities on the web. I have to activate it. Right. That's what I was saying, Sean. If you go to opportunities and it fails on you, you have to go to admin first and go to your opportunity setup and create at least one test eligibility letter and one test email template. Do that first. Let me know how you make out. Once you do that, you should be able to come back into opportunities. Okay. So if we go back in here, you have those? And it's still not enabled for you on the opportunity level. Off the top of my head, I don't have a good answer for you, mostly because I'm probably over caffeinated, but it typically should show up if they're there. The only other thing is check your eligibility. Dig into it later, Sean. Connect with me through the community. Let's figure that out. That's typically what I see fail. So, all right. So if I come in here and edit the opportunity, again, as I was saying earlier before Sean interrupted me, it'll fetch your results, and then you can go in and pick, your live pricing. This is a really big deal because you want to be able to quickly, as a salesperson, you want to be able to quickly get to what you need, and then you can click add. And what this will do is it'll bring the price directly into a new scenario that you can grab. So here's today's scenario. Here's the one I ran on the 21st of March, and here's the one from December. So I really can't stress enough, like this is very powerful from a sales presentation because I can show a borrower, look, you waited and look how much more expensive money has become, or you waited, oh my God, you're the most intelligent, brilliant, forecaster of mortgage rates ever. Take the money now. It gives you a way to line things up if you want to do that. And if you go into the scenario details, you can fill in additional information. So if we want to edit this scenario in here, we can do that. We can add in monthly MI and update that. We can also, if we come back over into these parts, we can come over, and if we see something in here, we can create a loan directly from this opportunity if we want. And then you can also come over into emailing this. So this is why these are why these scenarios are important, because if I wanted to email a particular scenario, I can select which scenarios I want to email, and then I can click send, and it'll send the email. Done. So again, from a sales process, these kinds of things are extraordinarily helpful. If I need to come in here and modify income, I can do that. Same thing with liabilities, and same thing with assets. And the reason why we're doing this is because when we want to go and check eligibility, we can come down here and check eligibility, and we can see what's going on. This is also really important from a company perspective, because there's been a lot of talk over the last several months, maybe even a year longer, depending on your company, on what's a pre-approval versus what's a prequal. Pre-approval, prequal. This has nothing to do with either. This is eligibility. And so if I wanted to issue an eligibility letter, again, it brings up the eligibility text that you created. And I know you can't see me. I mean, you can see me clicking, but you can't change it. And so for companies who struggle with these pre-approval letters or pre-qual letters, where people type in whatever they want, this solves for that problem. So obviously you can make this up to be whatever you want. That's going back over in the admin, going back over into the eligibility letters, and you can draft these up with the options you see here on the basic HTML text. So from a sales perspective, again, I've always found, since I've been looking at this over the last year, I've always found that this is very powerful. It's not something you can readily find anywhere else. It's certainly not something you could find previously. Can't find this on desktop. And I thought this was important to share with the group. If anybody has any questions about this part, let me know. And then I want to get into the second part. Spencer says, I've never been able to get the opportunities to work with that same area Sean was getting, even with the eligibility letter and email template. So I think there's something else that needs to be set up, and ICE doesn't have much going on for documentation. What's the error you're getting, Sean, specifically? When you say you get an error, does it say not available? Spencer, is it the same one? Like you get the same specific error? I'm trying to remember when we go through and enable this from an admin perspective. Oh, thanks, Candace. I wasn't even thinking about that. Thank you. Let me go back to admin. So under services management, yeah, you have to have your product and pricing engine set up. Thank you, Candace. It's been so long. It says with the opportunity, do you have, Spencer and Sean, do you guys have EPC set up for your product and pricing engine in here? Spencer says no. Thank you, Candace. See, that's why we're a community. So Spencer, let me know if that's for you. If that's happening, we don't. You can use OB. You might have. This is just EPC. So this is just EPC getting set up. Jill's typing. We got some other comments coming in hot. And you do have OB set up, Jill? Then maybe it's something else. So let me do a follow-up. Okay, and you have 2 other pricing set. Totally cool, Sean. It doesn't matter what is set up in here. I know this one has EPPS, but I've done this also with OB. So I'll find out what the steps are. It's been a little bit. So we'll get into that as far as the setup. The second thing I wanted to really talk about was pipeline. I'm going to pause sharing just for a second, because when I click pipeline, it's going to bring up like a production lens, and I don't want to share that on the screen. So let me bring this over into test lens. Training lens. Cool. Now I can share screen again, so I don't get in trouble. Okay. And share. Cool. So, so here's what I like about this part in sales. You don't have to take an application, nor should you try to take an application on your phone or on your iPad or whatever tablet you have. I don't even care if it's a 12.9. Like, I just don't care. This is not for that. This is so that you can not have to load the client, the Encompass client, onto your machine, which means you can use whatever OS-based platform machine you want. What's super powerful about this is you can create a pipeline view that only has 2 or 3, maybe 4 columns, and you can load that on your phone. So from a salesperson's perspective, I can quickly get into a file on my phone when I have to follow up with somebody, assuming that they're not a lead or an opportunity or something like that. And I can just go to borrow information, and I can quickly get to their phone, and I can tap to click, or I can tap to text. It's extraordinarily powerful to have your whole pipeline with you the way that everybody typically wants it. Now, administratively, you might have a problem with this, which is a whole nother conversation. So maybe you're not using the web because you don't want this kind of stuff floating around. I do want to share with show with you that you do have to click this to be able to see. By default, it is hidden because it is mobile based. So ICE is thinking about privacy, but date of birth is there. So I don't, social, I guess, is more sensitive than date of birth. I think it's the same, possibly, but whatever. This is kind of my point, though. When you come over into, if I can click the right button. No, I don't want to save. I use this all day long from my let me see here, guys. That was goofy. I just stopped sharing. Let me try that again. India, America, pipeline. Oh, it went back to active because that was my default. That was the problem. Let me go over into training. That's fine. If I could stop clicking so much. All right, cool. So when you go back to the pipeline, you can go in any file. So Luba asks, can you reassign an LO on the web? I was trying to do that yesterday. So the roles you can do through workflow rules. I haven't gone in there to actually try to manage, nor would I try to, Luba. Honestly, the whole point of today's topic was to really focus on what's practical today with Encompass Web. Doing all the stuff I showed you for the sales team, to be able to manage stuff on the web for opportunities and quick pricing and eligibility letters. Super slick, super unique, very helpful to borrowers. Doing anything else as far as the loan file is concerned, you can do some updates. I mean, 24.1, we're getting the E folder. like put that in perspective, right? We're getting the E folder in the web. It's going to be a big change. We're going to have to see how it works. So I wouldn't do too much in here. The only other thing that I would really focus in on for sales on the web is tasks. Now, everybody's workflow is different, right? But one of the things that's important in workflow for sales team. If they're required to go fetch anything, the hardest part is finding out what they need to go do based upon what file and when is it due and who is it for. And in desktop, you can use workflow tasks in desktop. And for loan officers, it's an easy way to keep an open list of what's required. I don't think anybody's going to use this today for any sales team that I've met yet, but I've come across more than, last month we did a few different workflow reviews for companies, and those loan officers or bankers are the primary contact for borrowers. And so the only way their ops teams would tell them what to go do is through email. So, yeah, and I would say Luba, going back to Luba's comments, so Luba she was roaming and she didn't have her laptop and she wanted to jump on and do some work. And I think that's a great use case, Luba. It's just not there today. I wouldn't rely upon it. So yeah, I'm with you too, Candace. Like I would love to not have to carry around a Lenovo Windows-based laptop. That's actually an Intel chip. Remember, you can't use ARM-based chips. So Apple MacBooks won't work because they're M chips, which are ARM-based. And even some of the new power, like high-level power efficiency Windows laptops are using ARM-based chips. Don't get fooled into that because desktop client won't work. I confirmed that a couple months ago when I was doing some laptop reviews. Luba says, can you show a good example of a task setup I've tried playing? Yeah, I could try. So basically in admin, when you come over and you're working in your workflow tasks, the first thing you want to do is set up workspaces. Chip component has to be x86 based. And I confirmed that. I actually put it in the community because I was super pissed because it wasn't documented anywhere, Robert. It wasn't documented. So you can't use you have to use an x86 based. If you run an emulator, it'll work, but it's a bad experience. Like honestly, you're gonna have to stick with x86 for now. Yeah, definitely run through that because if your team, that was my point. If your company's like, oh, we want to get better powered laptops, they can't be ARM or it's going to be lights out. You're not going to be able to run Encompass. You'll get through it and it'll try to install, and what it can't install are the print drivers. Like why? All right, so Luba, workspaces are first. So first thing you want to do is create a workspace. Your workspace is going to house the tasks. You have the option for one pane or a two pane. One pane could be a document. One pane could be an input form. Two panes can be two input forms, two documents, one input form, one document, one input form. So that's your layout. And then once you have that, you go in and create your tasks. You can create task groups. You can create standalone tasks. You can also create dependency tasks. So if the task is to review the appraisal, and then you've got subtasks of confirm address, confirm bedroom count, and confirm as is, you can set it to where if you clear those three, it automatically clears the top one, or you clear all three and then you have to clear the top one. Angie asks, how many admins should it take to really set up while maintaining your current Encompass? Oh, you mean Encompass Web? It's not, I can tell you it's not really that many because it's your business that has to decide what you want. And it's not going to happen all at once, Angie. So your biggest lift is going to be, your biggest focus will be enhanced conditions because your underwriting team will have opinions on that typically. So will your management team. So that's your first hurdle is enhanced conditions, in my opinion. And then again, going back to the sales team, I'm encouraging you to check out what I was describing about using the task list on the web. I went over this earlier today with a group. Let your team create, because they were trying to figure out how to get to there. And I said, create the tasks in desktop, and then show the list of loans that have all tasks open in the web, and then let them use that as their checklist to know which loans to go into in desktop. And you might say, but Larry, that's double work. To which I say, it's a progress. It's a step, because it's going to take us a while to psychologically disconnect from desktop. New doc viewer, Aces. Candace says she's going next with enhanced conditions. Good luck, Candace. And I'll follow up with the opportunity. I'll see what I can find on why it's not working. So that was working. So who was that? If I get my mouse in the right spot, who was failing on the thing? Sean, and there was somebody else. Sean and somebody else. You guys make sure you start a chat with me. Jill. Okay. I'll start a thread on how to make sure you get your opportunities enabled. That sales team, I'm telling you right now, they're going to love you if they have access to it and they can figure out what loans need to get locked, if they want to work with opportunities, show them the picture. Go back to opportunities and show them what they can do on here real quick. Assuming we can get it enabled for you, and it's pretty pictures, and it's really clear for borrowers to pick one of the 5 choices that your sales team wants to provide. So you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll keep it to 30 minutes. You guys keep the questions coming on the community. If you love this topic, keep asking. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy. Bye for now.